Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia. That is what I want to talk about today. So obviously I usually talk about UFC, but since the account that I have or the channel I have is called Fight Talk and I watched the fight, I thought I'd give you guys my reaction to it and what I thought. Now, granted, I'm not as good at looking at boxing fights and analyzing them. I tried to do a bit of my own analysis and well, I was very intrigued by the fight. I think the first things that I was looking for in terms of Gervonta Davis's strengths, the things that I expected him to do, which he in the end did, was use his power. A 92.86% KO rate is something you've got to use, and I thought he used it brilliantly in the fight. Most people that have such a power often rush, often try and overuse it and can gas themselves out. But I don't think he did. I thought he was brilliant. His fight IQ really shined in the fight as well, and his well-roundedness. Because let's be honest, when we look at both fighters, the more well-rounded fighter is Gervonta Davis. I think that Ryan Garcia relies on his hook a lot, that hook. And he isn't one-dimensional, but I think he relies on it too much. And Gervonta Davis, for me, coming into this fight, was the more well-rounded fighter. And you guys are going to say that I'm saying this because he's won already, but Gervonta Davis was genuinely who I thought would win this fight. So let's discuss what happened, sort of round by round, but we'll break it down. I thought that Gervonta Davis in this fight really used his height to his advantage. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, he had a height disadvantage coming into this fight. Ryan Garcia is a tall, lanky fighter, whereas Tank is a little bit more compact, a bit smaller. And he used this to his advantage, and he was able to almost eliminate Ryan Garcia's hooks by just getting down low. That's all he did the whole fight. If you watch, any time that Ryan Garcia was throwing hooks, which he was in abundance, by the way, Gervonta just got down low and threw his counter shots, and it worked like a treat. His body shots the whole fight, I really, really enjoyed watching. I really enjoyed watching them. He'd get low as Ryan Garcia was throwing his hooks and then land his own body hooks. Once he did that, he started to go up top and then go to the body as well. And I think that Ryan Garcia almost was in a state of confusion, a state of, what do I do? He didn't really know what to do. His hooks weren't working, which is his main weapon. And again, I don't like relying on commentary, but even the commentary team was saying the same thing. They were like, look, Ryan Garcia's hook's out of the window. Now he needs to figure out how to either land that or use another weapon, which unfortunately he failed to do so. The other thing, I thought that you could see the way that Gervonta, and he may have done this in previous fights. I haven't watched many of his previous fights. You can see the influence that Mayweather has on him. I thought that the first round obviously went to Ryan Garcia, but Gervonta used that round to analyze Ryan Garcia and feel him out, and that's a lot like what Mayweather would do. Maybe even 2 or 3 rounds he would take to analyze someone, and then after that round of analysis, or those 3 rounds of analysis needed, he had your number. You couldn't touch him. He was slipping the shots. He knew how to counter your shots. He downloaded a vast amount of information within a short period of time when I talk about Mayweather. And I thought that Gervonta did this exceptionally well. He did the exact same thing as Mayweather and only did it in 1 round. He analyzed the whole of Ryan Garcia's game in 1 round. And, after that round, Garcia had nothing to trouble Gervonta Davis. And I think this is the key thing, is that downloading of the data, that sort of analysis that Gervonta Davis did, is what won him the fight. Because he noticed, all right, every time I go down, Ryan Garcia's throwing a hook, he misses. I'm going to land hooks of my own onto his body because, he's smaller. You go down as a small fighter, what's in front of you? The body. So he was going for the body. He analyzed, used that, and that's in the end what won him the fight, but also allowed him to get, the knockdown in round 2. Knockdown in round 2 was, again, ducking low because Garcia was throwing his hooks, but then throwing it up top. And I think once he threw it up top in round 2, and landed and knocked down Garcia. Every time that Gervonta went down, he knew I can land to the body freely because he's going to be scared and, you know, hold up his hands. So, yeah, the analysis from Gervonta was great. His game plan was brilliant, brilliantly formulated. He was calculated, precise, and I think that Garcia got over aggressive due to the fact he didn't know what to do. You know, he sort of was in a state of panic and tried to take him out too early, overcommitted for sure. I think that if Garcia wanted to win this fight, what's the thing he has? The reach and the height. How do you use that? By staying on the inside, outside, not inside. You don't stay on the inside, staying on the outside, throwing the jab out, flicking the jab out, using your straight punches to keep the person away. Kind of like, you know, when a UFC fighter who's a striker fights a wrestler, you throw everything straight, long punches, long kicks, you know, front kicks, so that they're at a safe distance away from you, that they can't wrestle you or clinch you. I'm assuming that's the same thing you do in boxing, straight punches so that they can't get close. That's what I think you'd do anyway. And the thing that I was asking myself is, has Gervonta Davis proven to us, or proved to us, that Garcia only has one skill? Because granted, Garcia must have some decent skills other than a hook because he's got to where he's got to. You know, someone with one weapon doesn't usually get that far. I don't know if he's fought absolute tomato cans who can't fight because I'm much newer to boxing. So if someone in the comments can tell me if he's fought a high level of competition, please let me know. But from only watching this fight, which again I might be wrong, but I've only watched one of Ryan Garcia's fights. You know, it did prove to me after only watching one fight that he only had one real skill that would get him a KO, which is what he needed to do. And I think that yes, Gervonta proved that maybe not that Garcia has one weapon, but that he relies on something a bit too much. Because once that hook was gone, he was lost. He looked like a lost kid in a supermarket. And you know, round 5, we really saw that acceleration into the hooks to the body. You know, it happened more often. And I'm not sure whether the shot that Tank or Gervonta landed was an accumulation of punches. You know, the one that got him the win was an accumulation of punches, or if it was one shot that was hard. And now we're going to go into the other thing I wanted to talk about. Did he quit? Did he quit? It's a tough one to answer. You know, you have people like Andy Ruiz, for example, who's come out saying he quit. You have other people saying you don't know what it's like to be hit with a strong strike to the liver. I can't comment on that myself because I'm too slick. The appropriate thing to do, and I think you can do this in boxing, I should probably have checked, would have been he's taken the knee already, is to get up, and as soon as the ref starts it again, just keep the distance and then take the knee again. Just get that extra recovery. Can you do that, guys? I'm not sure if you can. Surely you can do that. I thought that would have been a smarter way to go around it. But I think what made people think he quit was the fact that he didn't look in that much of pain. He didn't look like he was in that much pain. He just looked winded. And I think for me, and I'm going to sound like a Ryan Garcia hater, I think he could have carried on. I think he could have carried on. And what happened was his hook wasn't working. You could see he was panicking by rushing in, which lost him the fight. And I think he ran out of ideas. But for me, from watching it, and I could never say if this is 100% correct, obviously, but in my opinion, I think he could have carried on, and I think he just ran out of ideas. The hooks weren't working. Gervonta was ducking, hitting him in the body, ducking, faking up, going down, even getting him in the jaw quite a few times to the head, hitting him in the head. And I think that he just panicked, and I think the only solution that he could find was to quit. And I do think though that if the fight carried on, it would have been the same. He either would have got flatlined again, or it would have been a body shot because he was getting hooks to the body a lot, and it would have been the same-ish outcome, maybe a bit more dramatic. So yes, I think he quit, but it would have been the same outcome. So you could say it's smart, he's saving himself for another day, increasing his longevity. You could call him a wet blanket, a wimp, and say that he could have carried on, but I thought that he quit, in my opinion. Again, I'm not 100% correct or incorrect. I'm never going to know. Only he knows deep down. And this was one of the first boxing fights in a long time that I enjoyed. I mean, I watched the Anthony Joshua fight last. That was a snooze fest. I almost fell asleep. I was going to do a video on whether I think he still is a top heavyweight, but I after that performance, I'm not convinced. But that would be a whole separate video. But I'm going to dabble into the boxing a bit more. I think I enjoy watching it. I think it's brilliant, and I enjoy the UFC as well. So why not do both? But do you guys think that Gervonta Davis was brilliant? Do you guys think that Ryan Garcia was terrible? And do you think he quit? I'd like for you guys to let me know if you thought he quit. And also the guys that understand boxing a bit more, if you guys could maybe correct me on anything that I said wrong, like for example, taking a knee twice thing. I don't know how that works. And again, I'm not claiming to be an expert. I just like talking about it and starting conversations. So if anyone wants to correct me in my boxing knowledge, no problem. I'm open to it. But yeah, what did you guys think of the fight? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in my next video.